Good morning, Ghana. Time now for blunt thoughts from yours truly. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Now, as we get into my thoughts for today, stay with me every step of the way, because what I have to share with you borders on our national life, as always, and I always share thoughts with you that will get us reflecting on Mother Ghana and the way forward. No one wants to remain static, even worse, retrogress, go back, which is why this morning I've titled my blunt thoughts, Building Castles in the Air. Fanciful projects that lead nowhere. Building castles in the air. Fanciful projects that lead nowhere. You know, in this country, a lot of what we do in terms of governance reminds me of that saying. It's an adinaton, right? A form of hyperbole that exaggerates a situation to create the impression of improbability or impossibility. It's a literary device. And that literary device I'm referring to is when pigs fly. If someone says to you when pigs fly, they're just telling you that, look, this is highly improbable, highly impossible, and you're just blowing hot air, so to speak. I could say same for many of the projects that we've brought to bear in this country. And we see the signs written on the wall, from one village, one dam, to one district, one factory, to planting for food and jobs and all of that. If we critically assess all of these projects, we'll come to the same conclusion. They lead absolutely nowhere. Which is why I'm also going to be looking at a number of matters today, including the SkyTrain, which has led us nowhere, Ghana for. But come with me to the slides. In recent times, ahead of the 25th of this month, and what we can expect by way of the mid-year budget review, we hosted a number of these business figures right here in our studios. I was here, and here is some of what they had to say. You see, I'm concerned because we spoke about never going to the IMF. Then we went to the IMF. And then we spoke about how much the IMF would be able to help us go above water. It appears that is not happening. The business space is getting asphyxiated. And that is reflected in the statements of the business community. So let's find out what they are saying. GUTA, for example, the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Dr. Joseph Obeng, it's an honorary bit, so Joseph Obeng says, the stability of the cedi has not reflected on prices of goods and services. So the cedi, at a point it was going for about 16 cedis to the dollar. Plus, that's how bad it was. There is some semblance of stability. But even then, it's still pegged around 12. How do you expect students, people traveling, to make it? Purchasing a ticket now is a big headache. There are many things. Look, there's a car battery that I have to get. These car batteries that you were getting for 400, 600 for new. Now, trust me, if you go on the market, you are getting it for about twice the same sum. Why? So he says, stability of the cedi has not reflected on prices of goods and services. And that's also because the business community has incurred losses and they'll keep passing them on till they sort of break even. Till when? That is the question. Our cedi is still flip-flopping, hence the title. Now, the depreciation of the cedi has had a toll on businesses. You just have to look out there, go out there. If you're a business person, if you're making purchases, you will see it, you will feel it. He who feels it knows it, yeah? We cannot define stability by just measuring 3 months' performance. So, yes, we have the IMF money, and we think after 3 months, no, we can't measure it. But as time ticks, we need to do more to shore up our economy. And the gains of the current stability have been taken away owing to, pay attention, the high cost of doing business, taxes, benchmark reduction policy, among others. The high cost of doing business is still something that is staring the business community in the face. We're talking about taxes. The taxes. And Ken Oforiatta, I am hoping that in the mid-year budget review, you are not going to be telling us about any new taxes. I'm hoping and praying. I know you'll be dressed in all white with your gold chain, with your bag, coming smiling. But this is no smiling matter. I'm telling you that on behalf of Ghanaians. Now, when we go to the next slide, there's also talk about 2 new haircuts. two new haircuts that is staring us or are staring us down the face or down the road. Two new debt restructuring programs for 809 million Ghana cedis. Now, these are two-pronged. They target holders of dollar-denominated bonds. If you are in there, or cocoa bills as well, the cocoa bonds. They were left out the first time. Now, it's looking like a very different picture. It appears we are mopping up the entire space. Everybody is feeling the pinch. Everybody. Even former Chief Justice Sophia Kufu. We saw her picketing. Everybody is feeling the pinch. The program for cocoa bond allows cocoa bill holders to exchange for longer-term bonds with lower coupon rates, and new bonds will mature consecutively from 2024 to 2028. Look at the time duration. Offers accepted until the 31st of July, 2023. It's a really tight space, difficult space we find ourselves in right now as a country, and only God knows how ordinary folk are making it. But let's go to the next slide. If you look at these two new haircuts and then put them side by side with what we're seeing, 850,000 Ghanaians per World Bank data fell into poverty in 2022 due to rising prices and reduced purchasing power. This is about 0.7% of our population, almost 1 million, okay, fell into poverty just last year. Inflation in Ghana negatively impacted households' living standards by eroding their purchasing power. You have this double-pronged, in fact, multi-pronged assault on your pocket. And yet, look at our people in government. They are living large. I was sharing the other day, look, I know people, staffers at the Jubilee House. If you see the things some of them are doing, less older than we are, no real work experience. All of a sudden, they are putting up houses, not a house, houses, and purchasing cars. And you ask yourself, where did they get all of this from? If the largesse is there, why not spread it across? So a few people will keep living well, and the masses will keep sleeping rough. How can that be leadership? That is why I call these misleaders what they are. Misleaders. Next slide. But then we come to the Accra SkyTrain project. Ghana for, behold your SkyTrain that never materialized. Even the one on the ground, the seat top, they go do sky. Building castles in the air. Fanciful projects that lead nowhere. $2 million paid to Africa Investor Holdings Limited. $2 million. Imagine what that could do for your road. That school without desks. That school under trees. That place without water. Imagine what this could do. You want to do this? Fine. Accra wouldn't be one of the worst places to bring it forth. But what do you have to show? It's not just about policy formulation or the talk. It's about achievement. What is governance without delivery? If in political science, they'll tell you, people vote parties into power to deliver the bacon. And if you don't deliver the bacon, away. That's it. That's how we have to get. That should be our thinking, Ghana for. And that is how we are going to progress. Let's move on to the next slide. Which brings me to this point. The minority in Parliament, in fact, pictured here governs Kwame Agboja, ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee. Minority in Parliament calls for prosecution of Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund Board and management. They must answer questions. I don't know about prosecution, but I feel they definitely have to answer questions on this matter. Payment was made without feasibility studies getting completed. Payment was in breach of Article 181 of the Constitution, and we know what the stipulations are. And the Auditor General's 2021 report raised concerns about the payment. So why did we still go ahead, if not for nefarious reasons? Corruption, igari womaimu. I say key soap. Or is it alata seminar? We use it to bath every day. The president recently was talking about the fact that in the church, let's focus on the church, because you people who are always criticizing politicians, the politicians form just a small portion. You are also guilty, and that these people come from your stock. I agree with you, Mr. President. But you see, whenever there's a bottleneck, someone said, The problem is always with the neck. And where is the neck of the bottle? At the top. So lead and let us follow. You are the father. If the fish will get spoiled, it starts from the head. Have you dealt with the rot you are sitting on? I agree. The church and all religious groups and all of us must contribute our quota. And as we criticize, we must be responsible. But how about you, Mr. President, and what you're overseeing? Let's go to the next slide. Now, I want to wrap with the death penalty and the bills involved. I just want to get us thinking, Ghana, about this bit. Now, scrapping the death penalty, according to Cletus Avoka, who is against it, will embolden criminals, he says. Death sentences will appeal more to victims' families, he says. So as some sort of retribution. You killed our person, we'll also kill you. The sponsors have not adequately addressed the side of victims, he said, and people facing life sentences can escape given the country's political system. That is what he proffers, or that is what he suggests. There is some reason in what he says. But let's look at the other side, and I'll leave you, Ghana, to draw your own conclusion and decide where you think we should be going. Next slide. Now, if you look at Amnesty International, it says condemned cells where prisoners under death sentence were held were reported to be overcrowded, insanitary, with prisoners forced to sleep on the floor and suffering ill health as a result of malnutrition and a lack of medical care and exercise. You know, there are some prisons you go to and still you will have a certain quality of life. In Ghana, Chale, no be so like that. I remember Operation Efiase and how much the 1 Ghana that they used to survive on. Now, even our school feeding, they are surviving on 97 pesos. There was supposed to be an increment of a 1 cedi, 20 pesos. I don't know whether that has taken effect yet. But look at the parity and look at what kind of life would you live on 1 cedi a day. Next slide. So we really have to contemplate. Next slide. Let's go to the next slide. And this is where we wrap. And I want you to draw your conclusion. If you look at the death sentence and prison conditions, and by the way, in this Fourth Republic, we have not actually executed anybody. According to Amnesty International, those are death sentences in Ghana between 2010 and 2022. In 2010, we had 17, 4 in 2011, 27 in 2012. That was quite a shoot up, the highest we've seen. 2013 had 14, 2014 had 9, 2015 had 18, 2016 had 17, 2017 had 7. I said a lot of numbers, wow. 2018 had 12, 2019 18, 2023, 2021 7, 2022 7. I feel capital punishment has had its day. Maybe it is high time we as a people had our way. Even in biblical times, people were sentenced to death, yes. But if you look at the current dynamics, we are sentencing people to death. We're not even executing them. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but I am saying there are reasons for both sides. Where do we find the middle ground? Is there even a middle ground? It's a discussion I wanted to put out there. I'll not share my personal sentiments, but I wanted to put it out there for all of us to reflect so that we can also impact the decisions that our lawmakers will make on that matter. But I go back to the title as I conclude. Our leaders must cease building castles in the air. You can't build castles in the air. The fanciful projects that are leading nowhere should come to a halt. Let's be realistic. Let's be real in leadership and deliver the goods not just to party people, but to ordinary Ghanaians, the suffering masses who cannot even get food, 3 square meals in a day. Mr. President, my name is Benjamin Akakpo. I share these thoughts always with you because I'm passionate about the brand called Ghana. These are my blunt thoughts shared with you this morning, raw, hot, unedited, undiluted. God richly bless Ghana and make her great and strong.